I just think I turned 60 last year, and you start to look at your life a little differently. And I looked back at this seminal moment in my past that seemed I had dragged around for so many years, and it seemed frozen in the past. And I wanted to bring it up into my present, and by examining it, I began to sort of honor it. And when I started to honor it, then it started to become a blessing. And I was fascinated by the journey without anything changing. The journey was internal, how I changed from feeling like this is an albatross to this is probably the greatest professional blessing I've ever had. And I need to go see if other people felt the same way, because you can have those experiences alone, but once you connect them, like I've sort of mentioned in the movie, to community, the other people that were involved in it, and see what their experience was, it validates our own experiences in a certain way and makes them real. And so, that's why. We're all back sort of in touch again. I was texting with Demi, I texted with Amelia today, I texted with Robin, I knew I was going to see Ali, so that we're all from the same litter. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like. When I saw everybody, people said, were you nervous to see people again? I was like, the minute I walk in, I just said, oh, there's Demi, there's Ali, there's John. Like, we're the same litter. We're puppies. And so there's something about that we have, we can, like me and Ali said, we just look at each other and go, oh, hello. And that's a beautiful thing. And you know, I didn't have it with anybody for 30 years, so to go back to that, it brought it all up to the present day, so yeah, that was worth it.
When we had done Pretty in Pink together, we did not get along. Mostly because he was a dick.
That's very true.
The big reason. But he was going through a lot of stuff at that time that I did not know about, and as was I, you know. And so when his name came up on my phone, I think it was a text actually. It was the first thing I. Oh no. Well, it was weird because he does not block his name on his phone. It comes right up, and you're just like, oh, that guy. And he and I had run into each other at we were both on The View. And they interviewed him, and then they interviewed me, and so we ran into each other in the green room. And it was a lovely moment because we did not get along back in the day. But the second
I apologize.
Well, no, but a little, and so did I. But it was lovely because it was like within a moment, it was just so clear that we were teenagers, and that does not, that in no way defines who we are now. And it was just so lovely because it was immediately warm. It was just immediately, oh my God, did we go through all that together? So that's what I went through.
Well, I didn't think he was a dick.
He wasn't a dick to you.
He was aloof. He was aloof. He was aloof. He was aloof.
He was aloof. He was
back in the day. He was.
Yes. He wasn't, but you can see it's still a little there. Now you know why the movie worked.
My heart swelled when I got that call. And just a flood of joy. I feel like I hadn't thought about the effects of that time or the impact. And watching the film tonight, what I realized is the greatest loss of it was the time that we've lost with each other over these years, because there was a fear that if we didn't try to just move out on our own, that we would somehow be seen as less. And the joy of this has been the reconnection and the opportunity that we have now. For something that was a really defining, beautiful moment of joy in all of our lives.
We didn't know when we were doing Breakfast Club that it was going to become such a cultural sort of milestone in a way. We had no idea, and I didn't know with St. Elmo's Fire or with any of them. We didn't. But I was blissfully happy when we were filming Breakfast Club and during St. Elmo's Fire and with my group of friends. I really did feel like, oh wow, I actually really belong with these people. We're all working together, and we're all together, sort of as a group. It wasn't like we hang out and get you know, messed up at restaurants, but it was just sort of, wow, I have my group, you know, my people, do you know what I mean? And we get to work together. And so I had a lot of joy at that time in my life.
I love to cast really out of left field a lot. I think that's more interesting. And so maybe some of you presented in a specific way, but I saw something else within you. And that's interesting to me. That's what makes you want to watch.
Oh, it was tragic. It was the worst nightmare you could have as a director. And I remember John Hughes' hands went to his chest, and Ned Tannen, the head of Paramount, and Don Steele, they were all, you know, having a heart attack. Because the movie was playing beautifully, you know, and people loved it. And then at that last moment, they weren't happy. So we had no choice. He had to everybody knows about this by now. I mean, a lot of people know that he had to rework the ending. And so he came over to the editing room finally after a couple of weeks of thinking about it, and he realized, oh, Andrew can't have had a date. He has to come alone, and we have to reverse engineer it and figure out how to do that.
Yeah, now the original ending, I went back and actually reread it not that long ago, and the original ending wasn't that Ducky and Andy ended up together romantically, actually. It was that he shows up at the prom for her, and she sort of realizes that she doesn't care about, you know, that fitting in with the rich kids was not important to her. And so when we danced together, the story was not that we were going to be together romantically, it was that we didn't care what anybody thought. And that was the ending, and that was what they were hoping would be the fist in the air, like Judd Nelson's thing, but that was not the reaction that they got.
Blame. My son, Rowan's 10, he's Team Blame. Anybody else?
My son is Team Demi. What's so funny though, again, he's lovely. He's a little, the worst you could say about him is he's a little aloof. He keeps remote. You keep your own counsel, and that's lovely. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like I said, it's still going
David.
There we go.
I mean, I just was, when we sat down to talk, I really felt like it was an opportunity to really share from the perception of where I was sitting today, and to see if we shared in a similar way. And, you know, what I do know today is how we relate to the issue is the issue. And so whatever has been does not mean that's what it has to be today.
See, she's doing it again. I just wanted to go have a talk about it. Because like we said, we hadn't seen any of each other in years and years and years, but I knew we'd have a lot to talk about, because this thing happened to us all. And it happened to David too. So I just wanted to get his. My whole thing with David was to not try and have an agenda for anything. I wanted to see where do you live with this? That was, and you know, that was my main objective.
You did want me to apologize. But that's okay. Ask me to apologize, if I wanted to apologize. I did not apologize. That's okay. Didn't make the final cut. It was a great moment.
Well,
Yes, for using the phrase, for writing the piece. But that's okay. We always saw it a little differently.
That's going to be in part 2, Judd's Revenge.
Isn't he up there at the balcony? I keep thinking I should be a little more careful. Remembering recently, I don't even think I told you this, that it almost didn't happen because in the previous week's cover story of New York Magazine was about wolf packs, which was something to do with people, you know, doing something that was
Kind of a fictional crime way.
crazy,
Yeah.
weird thing, and they're like, can we do wolf packs, rat packs? Too much. Yeah. So there was actually a bit of hesitation, and honestly, the whole project, you know, really came about a lot differently and was conceived in my mind a lot differently than it was perceived, I think, by the rest of you. I mean, I was very fortunate to have seen The Breakfast Club and had it resonate with me. I wasn't that far away from high school, and these other movies, The Outsiders, Taps, a lot of films. And at that time, not that many people noticed that there were some of the same actors in all of these movies. And I pointed that out to my editor, and we thought this was a great opportunity to actually elevate something that we saw happening in the culture that we were very excited about.
Now wait a minute. You didn't elevate, you actively tore down.
Well, see, I would argue, and I did.
Don't you think you should apologize? Seriously. Don't you think, I mean, personally, you attacked everybody. Don't you think?
I did attack everybody. Go read the piece carefully.
Do you want to quote the magazine?
Sean is the happy.
I mean, you did say there was collateral damage.
I did. My daughter thought that was a necessary mistake. But I'm very pleased you pointed that out.
But in fairness, you didn't.
I shouldn't have said.
You didn't do it to celebrate these. If you did it in a, by celebrate, if your intent was to celebrate, that's not what.
By celebrate, what I mean is that, you know, attention draws audiences, draws people to these films that you had all been in, to your careers. I would also point out, not that this was also something I didn't think was mentioned in the film that much, but that everyone in this film and everyone associated with the Brat Pack has gone on to have great careers from where I sit. I always knew you'd all be doing better than me, and you have.
I find it interesting that you're having this opportunity to apologize and you're double downing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just felt that, as I said, you know, it was a big story, cover story, a lot of attention drawn. A lot of the people in the group that I call the Brat Pack have gone on to have great careers, and as I said before, I think everyone on this panel and everyone associated with the group has gone on to have great success and continue to work and continue to teach and act and do all these, and write, and be, as you have done many, many creative things. Would that have happened without the Brat Pack? We'll never know, but I do.
Well, that's interesting. That's if the Brat Pack doesn't exist, I'm a guy who's in a bunch of, you know, 80s movies, but now that I'm a part of the Brat Pack, I'm part of this iconic thing that captures a generation in pop culture, and that would not have happened without the Brat Pack.
And will never happen again.
No, as Malcolm Gladwell pointed out, you know, because it's so correct. But that's really true. So that, to me, was the whole reason to make the film, is how this thing that I perceived as horrible, which I said earlier, becomes this blessing, you know, over time. And as Demi was putting out to, you know, whatever, Demi says it always better than I do, but just the way our perception and things, the truth today is not the truth tomorrow.
And also, I think the collective name has become something, no disrespect to Dave, bigger than the article. You know, I think that it took on a life of its own, and that what we're left with today is something that is resonating on a higher level, and something that is connecting us as opposed to separating us.
And the crazy thing was, the article was about Emilio, Rob, and Judd, who we all agree are the core of the Brat Pack. But the only thing they did, and obviously it affected you greatly, Andrew, but there's only like one sentence about Andrew in it where they're not being nice to you, not David. And it's like, oh, come on. He gets plastered with that, even though Judd and Emilio were like, yeah, that guy. I'm not slacking them either, but it was just dismissive, and it just seemed so ironic that it landed on you so heavily.
What Demi said, it took on a thing and became its own thing. Most people here probably didn't even know that it came from a magazine article, you know? So it just took on a life of its own, which is, you know, I suppose what good writing does too. It just sort of introduces something and off it goes out into the orbit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had always been accused of jealousy, and I actually felt it was more for me. I don't even want to say resentment, but I just wanted to demonstrate to this group of talented young actors that I also had a talent, and that was coming up with a clever phrase. And I felt like we kind of met in the middle.
But I do want to take this moment to acknowledge John Hughes, who gave me my break and who was a mentor to so many of us. right here. I really don't think, speaking for myself, when I'm going through something like making those movies, which was, you know, terrifying to me, and is to a lot of directors, you know, for first movies, second movies, it's tough. I never had an idea that what we were, like Ali said, I had no idea. Nor did John have any idea they would become what they became. We were just getting a chance to make a movie, and it was the first movie he produced, Pretty in Pink, and Some Kind of Wonderful was, you know, like the third. So he wanted to produce a movie, and he wanted to, you know, expose me to some of the music that he loved, and find a way to put it in those movies, and work with the actors he wanted to work. And what he said in Andrew's film, which by the way was great. I think you should do this for a living, by the way.
Breakfast Club's the best movie.
I'm a little bit agnostic on this, but I will say that I thought Breakfast Club is an iconic movie. And I know, honestly, I felt that John was here. I feel like he would say the same thing.
Well, I already mentioned the Breakfast Club, but I'll add, for me personally, I would have to actually say Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, I'm at the time right after I got cast in Pretty in Pink. Breakfast Club came out, and I remember when I went to see it, and I remember that moment at the end where Bender does the fist bump, and just the audience erupting because it was 100% clear this was going to be something iconic for teenagers for decades, and I felt that way then, and I feel the same way now. That's my favorite.
I would join in saying The Breakfast Club. I mean, it was a therapy session. Why wouldn't I have loved it? No, it was really, I think, because I had looked at it and it was a movie that I said, I wish I could have been in that. Because it just touched something so deep in such a truth that I had never seen portrayed before. Just everything that Ali said in the film is exactly what I felt as the audience member seeing.
I'm changing my answer. I'm going back to Breakfast Club.